Hello and welcome to the Scottish Roadscast, a podcast from the Scottish Roads Archive that delves into the history of Scotland's roads, bridges and motorways. I'm Stuart Baird. I'm joined by my wonderful friend and co-host, John Hassel.
Hello Stuart, how are you?
Yeah, not bad, John, not bad at all. We are back to basics this month.
We are back. What a lovely introduction that was, you said, wonderful. But it is great to be back doing these in person.
Yes.
After trying to do them remotely. Well, I mean, it's been a mixed bag, but we sounded like we were recording in a cathedral. Yeah. It was that echoey.
Regular listeners will remember a couple of episodes ago me going on about all this wonderful new equipment that we had purchased and how we were going to be doing them online and it was going to make things so much better. And actually, it really didn't work at all very well from a recording quality point of view, shall we say.
All about the quality. We do appreciate all you guys listening to this, and we want to bring the best for you.
Yes, so you and I are back to basics. We're back to the old ways. We're back in HQ recording this face to face, which is great for the dynamic between us and getting a good chat. So that's great. No Duncan, unfortunately. But that's fine.
But that means we don't have his rubbish internet connection that he normally has.
We don't have to, exactly. We don't have multiple takes waiting on him getting back online and all these other issues. But we mean that with love, Duncan, if you're listening.
No, and he's done a lot of work for what we're going to be talking about, so he is missed on this one.
He is indeed. But anyway, we're back to this, and we are going to be talking about the M9 this month.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
We are.
That seems familiar to me as a podcast topic. Have we discussed this before?
We have. So the last time we sat down here in the studio, Stuart, we were talking about this when we still had face masks on. So it was quite a few years ago now, back I think around about 2020. But so much more information has come to light, and we've also got loads of new listeners. Mm-hmm. Duncan has managed to dig up some stuff as well. So I think it's a good time to revisit this. Yeah. It is an important part of Scotland's motorway network. And I think previously we've been speaking about some stuff up north. So
we have. It's sort of back to Central Belt. And the thing about the M9, when we recorded that last episode, and I remembered it was a while ago, I wouldn't have been able to tell you exactly when. But I know at that point we didn't have any opening booklets for that whole motorway. Now we've got, I think we have a booklet for every section now.
Every
more
section,
or less.
Including this lovely old one that we're going to reference a few times today.
And that's your From the Archive feature for this episode. So that's the Polmont and Falkirk Bypass opening booklet. As usual, that will be available on the podcast page on our website. So if you want to read along as we discuss, it's scottishroodsarchive.org/roadscast. You'll get the opening booklet there. If you're interested in the M9 generally and you want a bit more information than beyond what John's going to tell you about today, we also have our webpage on the M9 Scottish Roads Archive, .org/M9.
Stuart pulls us up for making all these mistakes for saying things, but even he does them himself.
Exactly.
And
it's easy when we're in the
So don't edit that out.
No, I'll leave that one, I promise. Right, well, I'm going to sit here and I'll just cut in and ask some questions as we go. We do have listener questions because you invited them.
I did.
So we'll deal
it's very old school with the listener questions.
We'll deal with those at the end. I'm just going to let you take it away.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Yeah. Okay, so it's back to talking about the M9. Just before we do start, I do need to mention some sources that have contributed to this. I got to say thanks to Duncan because he has been a source, of course, of finding and putting this together. Duncan's done a lot of the sort of notes for this too. Mm-hmm. But, of course, Bob Pritchard, Kevin McCall and Jim Tate, his engineers at WA Fairhurst, who worked on the new bridge to Lothallan section in the 1960s. So these guys not only have been able to help us with some of this information, but also provided anecdotes and answered our questions about things. So thank you very much. So
proper on-the-job sources for this one.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Transport Scotland, they have contributed some material for this as well. Photographs and whatnot that have completed the picture. Mm-hmm. So what is the M9? It's another blue line on the map, isn't it? It's connecting places in the central belt of Scotland. But basically, it links Edinburgh to Stirling, bypassing Linlithgow, Falkirk, Stirling actually itself, and meeting the A9 at Keir roundabout, where it becomes an A road essentially, which continues its onwards journey north. Now, it was not all built at once, as we know with a lot of motorway construction, it's quite piecemeal. Yeah. It opened in stages between 1968 and 1980.
Very much in that core period when most of Scotland's modern road system was taking shape.
It is a rural motorway.
It is.
It is two lanes pretty much for 95% of its length in either direction up there. And compared to the M8, we'll get to this, it won't be too busy.
Some historic context with the M9, because it stands out, from a historic point of view compared to some other Scotland's motorways. The M9 as a motorway was always going to be a motorway.
Yeah.
So I think there are only two roads that we can definitively say that from the outset they were planned to be to motorway standards. The M9 and the M90, north of the Forfar Bridge. So like when you go back to 1950s, for example, Scottish Development Department, Scottish Office talking about some of the new roads that were coming together, M9 and M90 were the only two that were definitely going to be motorway. It was only 1963 before they determined that the M8 was going to be M8. M80 likewise. Some of the other ones, they started out just as being new roads on new alignments.
A74.
Exactly, but the classifications weren't really pinned down until much, much later. M9 was one of the ones that was always going to be a motorway. Yeah. So I'll just throw that in there just for some random...
No, that's good, because it answers some questions as why are things like this, because there are parts, of course, of the network that don't have hard shoulders and things like that. But I think the best way to tackle this, and certainly I think Duncan has done it this way with how he's set this out, is to start from south to north.
So the Edinburgh end.
The Edinburgh end.
So follow the junction numbers sequentially northwards.
Going upwards. Yeah. First thing though, Stuart, what do you think the M9 is? Is it a north and south motorway? So would you say north and southbound, or would you say it was an east and west?
I've always considered it an east and west as far as Bannockburn, and then a north and south from there north to Keir.
Okay.
Is that fair? Does that go against what everyone else thinks?
Do you know what you're quoting the official line from, behind the scenes on how the road is officially referenced? When we do the management of the trunk roads, they do see it as an east and west. I have also always seen it as a north and south, because if you were to drive on it, you're going from somewhere in the south to somewhere in the north, even though it's actually quite diagonal in how it goes.
Yeah.
So we're both right and we're both wrong.
Okay, we can live with that. Yeah.
So that's fine. So the first section, this is Newbridge. So Newbridge roundabout, as it were, to Lathallen. So we're going to break this up into stages. So this is at the present day from Junction 1 up to Junction 4. Okay. Now, phase 1 was from Newbridge roundabout. So they built, originally Newbridge didn't have an underpass. It was just a roundabout. More on that in a bit. It went up to what was the Murie Hall terminus at Winchborough. So not really a junction there now, but the road, the motorway just stopped.
Okay.
Now, this was opened on the 25th of November 1970. Now, it's important to note as I work through this, I'm going to get some sections further up which open sooner. But just so everyone can follow what I'm doing, just go from south to north.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the southern section wasn't the first bit to open, but for this discussion, we're talking about it that way. So this was designed by W.A. Fairhurst, and it was built by A.M. Carmichael. During the course of this, it's one of these sad things where the contractor actually went out of business, and it was completed by Tarmac Construction.
Yeah. Who I believe were either the second or third place tenderer on the original contract and were sort of brought in. I think a similar situation panned out on the other bit that Carmichael were building on the M8 potentially. Yeah. So we've sort of heard this before, haven't we?
But this was the heyday of road construction. There were plenty of contractors swimming about to choose from.
Yeah.
As I said, it started at the at-grade roundabout, flat roundabout at Newbridge, which is where it was meeting the M8, the A8, and the A89. Okay, so the M8 didn't, of course, go all the way to Edinburgh at this point. It was just stopping there. So very, very busy juncture. And it ran north for about 1 mile and ends at a road that is basically the B9080, which was then the A9. So the M9 then became the A9 at this terminus.
Of course, and as Duncan spoke about on that other podcast recently, the A9 used to run from Edinburgh all the way up through all these towns and villages, all the way up to Perth and beyond.
The A9 that no one speaks about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
But that was it. So the Newbridge to Dechman, this is the M8 section. That was actually completed on the 30th of November 1970. Remember I said the 25th of November? So like 5 days later, the M8 was
must
sort of
have
plugged
been
in.
deliberate, surely.
Of course it is.
That's deliberate.
So you suddenly got this continuous line of motorway going through there. We're on the hunt for an opening booklet for that, so if you know anything about the M8 between Livingston and Newbridge...
Yeah, we've really struggled for opening booklets for the eastern sections of the M8.
Yeah.
It's a strange
why we
one.
haven't spoken about it much. That's why we're talking about the M9.
Yeah,
so
they must be somewhere.
Exactly. What's interesting about this setup that they had at Newbridge for this particular section is how that was going to go eastwards. Okay, so how is that going to connect up with Edinburgh? They didn't weren't quite determined that yet. So a large structure was built on the approach to Newbridge Roundabout, which is no longer there, which was an unused underbridge for basically a free-flow link onto the A8.
We have some 1990s photos of that structure, don't we, from just before the underpass
Whole
was
Yards Bridge, and it was removed in around about 1997.
Okay.
Well, it was removed in 1997 and filled in, and it's really hard to see any evidence of that now there. But yeah, it was a bridge that was never there. It was never used for many years. Large structure there, Stuart. You know about this one, the one that goes over the River Armand.
That is a long bridge, that one.
Yeah. Again, you don't really appreciate until you're under it.
If you're going from Kirkliston round to the A89 and you drive under it, you get an appreciation of just how big it is.
Also has, going on the, what I call northbound, or some people call westbound, so you're going up that section there, a very large patch on the lane 1 on it there with a sort of mastic asphalt surface that's different for the repairs and maintenance of.
I think it has a very thin surfacing system on that bridge. It's got quite a thin deck, as a lot of these old bridges do, and sometimes when there's wee failures and things that creep in
the concrete,
and there's a lot of potholing, and they've obviously gone with a mastic because it's a bit more
I remember the issues that happened, so it's quite an expensive repair to kind of keep that one going, so it looks really good now. There is quite an impressive junction, of course, the first one you come to and you're heading north, which is the trumpet-style interchange at Kirkliston, which connects to the M9 spur, which is junction 1A that's there. That was... So there's the thing about the spur, and this is, of course, the road that goes towards the bridge, Forth Road Bridge, now Queensferry Crossing, known as the M9 spur. This short section was actually constructed at the same time. And it used to end at Humby Roundabout.
Oh, yes.
Now,
we all remember Humby Roundabout.
We all remember it. And was it the A9000?
88,000 in those days.
That was it. In September 2007, I think it was Morrison's construction, they actually extended that. Yeah. And it met the A90 properly.
Finally.
But in 2013... I believe this is all from memory, I'm doing this, but I think it was a company called Sisk Road Bridge. They'd done the construction of an upgrade to the Kirkliston junction to allow it to have full access.
That's right.
So you could go down the M9 spur and go to the M9 north.
All those new sign gantries and things went in at the same sort of time.
So, and that was part of an advanced package of works for the fourth replacement crossing as it was. So this interface with the M9 here, still talking about M9, but this junction was modified to provide full access around that time. So a bit of work has happened.
And am I right in saying that spur is now numbered M90?
It is M90, but generally gets referred to still as the M9 spur.
I don't really recall seeing any signs on the road that sort of, you don't see you join the M90, or do you? Are there signs that say
M90?
it
does. It says on the gantries it's like M90.
It's M90 brackets M9 or something, right? Okay, I'll need
it's
to pay
just
closer
M9.
Attention next time.
It used to be, you had signs on that said M9. And yours truly had it removed, and it's now M90.
Okay, so
there you go.
You're good.
Yes, so that's where we are. So we're at Kirkliston at that section there. So just flip over the page. Little tidbit here for information. I like this. Newbridge Roundabout was the location of a TRRL trial involving the yellow approach markings, along with several other sites in the UK, around about January.
So that's the Transport and Road Research Laboratory.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank goodness he didn't ask me to what that stood for. No, so that's those yellow bars that go across.
Did Duncan say when that trial was?
January 1972.
Oh, so that's well. So it was still been the Road Research Laboratory at that stage then. So that's interesting. So that's very early for those markings.
But so that's that section, and of course from there it went on and it just had this temporary terminus. So you actually got a very short section of motorway when it initially opens. Since then, I've spoken about Kirkliston, which happened, in 2013. There also Newbridge Roundabout itself. That roundabout was chronically congested. Once the other sections of the M9 were plugged in, traffic grew, especially in the 80s and the 90s. It was a Sheriff Hall of its time, an Auchenkilns of its time. So an underbridge was looked at, so basically, an underpass, and that's how the junction is today. And that was done in 1997, so October 1997, opened by Malcolm Chisholm.
Oh yeah,
as an MP.
Later MSP and Health Minister, I think, in the Scottish Parliament under the old Labour Lib Dem executive.
You know all this stuff with politics. It's fantastic. But designed by Carl Brow, built by Morrison's.
Good.
So there we go. 50 mile an hour limit. I believe that's the first motorway speed cameras in Scotland went in under there.
Yeah, that's a good point to mention, the fact that I think we've been told by several people that those speed cameras are not there for the traditional sense to reduce speeding so much as because of the sight lines. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Safety.
It's to do with road geometry. It's
Yeah.
quite a dip that goes through. And now they're bagged now. They're out of use. I don't know if they're being replaced or whatever,
Yeah,
but I
I
know
don't
they're
know.
bagged at the moment. But yeah. Also, as part of those... So heading north from you, we've got a nice shiny new underpass. That was originally like 3 lanes through there. It was widened to 4 lanes when they done the Kirkliston Junction upgrade in along with the ITS gantries and variable speed limits and stuff like that. Also, actually, on this section, it's worth mentioning because we didn't speak about this last time we done the M9 podcast. There is a new junction. There is a junction 1B, which is the Winchborough.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Was forgetting that was there now. Yeah.
So that was opened in February 2022, and it was built by R.J. McLeod.
Is that 3 years old already?
3 years old.
Wow.
And I've only used it twice.
Yeah.
So it has had... And that was done for the new Winchborough developments. If you're not familiar, Winchborough's an area that is growing massively. There's lots of private developments that are there, and part of their planning application and conditions was to provide this junction to the M9, which is a great thing because poor Winchborough is quite cut off, to get to.
As if we didn't have enough cars joining the motorway at that end of them.
But they want to put in a railway station.
Oh, that'll help.
There's a big
when
campaign.
Is that coming?
We'd have to... Someone knows more about that than we do. We couldn't possibly say. Some notes from the guys at Fairhurst, though, on this southern section were main challenges were the old shale mine workings. So it's always a thing when you're working in the Lothians that were underground for most of the site. This involved major ground investigation, including drilling down and seismic work carried out by a branch of the Hunting Surveys Group, who had also carried out the aerial photographic mapping.
Interesting, yeah.
So the amount of burnt shale waste needed to construct the Mire embankment to gain enough height to get the motorway high enough to clear the Winchborough Loop railway line from Dunblane to Winchborough Tunnel. So that was another challenge. So the Mire embankment is something that's mentioned in the booklet, and if you go north from Kirkliston up through here, you'll notice you are on quite an earth embankment, and that is that obviously for the ground conditions and stuff they built.
Vegetation and stuff coming up, it's sometimes difficult to appreciate just how hhigh up you are.
You are quite high up there, but they used a lot of these shelvings for the filler material.
And let's be honest, there was plenty of them in the local area at that time.
Yeah, that's fine. It's funny, remember we mentioned about the M8 opening around about the same time?
Yes.
That was deliberate.
Right.
Scottish Development Department wanted that.
Okay.
They timed the dates to basically open at roughly the same period to avoid too much disruption at Newbridge roundabout.
Yeah. So one section of road getting to use it for a spell before the second section comes along or whatever, but still close enough together.
It's funny how the underpass was never part of the original plans. Not really through...
We recently came across a Fairhurst drawing. It's in for scanning at the minute, actually. We'll need to share it, and it shows some of the network proposals at that end of the M8, M9, and you kind of see where that bridge that you mentioned that was later demolished, how that would have come into use. So when that drawing's available, we'll need to stick that online just so people can see. But there was a number of spur roads and things between the various motorways planned at that
That's
point.
why that random bridge was slapped in there and that they never used.
Mm-hmm.
Some other bits of information here. The design of the motorway layout was based on an aerial survey and a suite of computer programs, very new for their time.
I bet.
The computer programs were used to analyse the geometry of both horizontal and vertical alignments and to calculate earthwork quantities proposed and formation level data, stake line positions, all that sort of thing. So, aerial photographs. Near Newbridge, the line of the motorway crosses the River Armand in the middle of a large loop, and a short distance further on crosses the former B800 road at a point where the eastbound carriageway divides for the future M8, M9 interchange.
Okay.
This would have required 2 bridges over the river and a third over the road. You see the problem here? Investigation showed that a substantial financial saving could be made by diverting the river into a new channel close to the road, which was realigned to improve a sharp bend as well, and crossing both the road and the channel with one structure. That's the big bridge over the Armand that we're talking about. Okay. The bridge was built in the dry, and the river subsequently diverted into the channel, which is 50 feet wide, 10 foot deep, and 1,800 feet long.
Interesting. Okay.
That's cool, though, isn't it?
So a lot of engineering.
Build a bridge, going over nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's put the river underneath it. It's more common than you think. You know, it's done on some sections of the A9 where they diverted the river. Mire embankment, just quickly mentioned it. It consists almost entirely of spent oil shale. Use was made of the formation of an abandoned mineral railway to construct a half-mile long conveyor belt passing under the A9 and the railway line to supply this material from Nidri Castle Bing to a central point on the motorway line. So this is cool because they basically built like a small in-house railway
just to ship it in.
To ship it in.
Good.
So there you go. Next phase. So we got that terminus. Couple of years later, they done the next phase, which was from Muir Hall to the Lethallen Junction.
Okay.
So this was around about where, if you present day, where Winchborough, all the way up to Junction 4. This was opened on the 18th of September 1972 by George Younger, MP.
MP for Ayr, later Secretary of State for Scotland under Margaret Thatcher, 1980 to 1986, there or thereabouts. Yeah.
Thank you for the politics, Stuart. You always know these things. It's great.
Yep.
So there we go. Don't even have to look at notes. So this section was designed by Fairhurst as well, and it was built by Tarmac, because obviously they'd done a wonderful job in the previous section, so they won that tender. It was tendered in 2 phases, so they'd done a sort of Muir Hall to Boroughmuir, and then sort of Boroughmuir to Lethallen within that. So it's like Inception when it comes to phases here. It's phases and phases within phases. Duncan's note, he just put it's a nice section of motorway. Yeah, I tend to agree.
I mean, I suppose, nice. It's nice past Linlithgow.
Define nice.
But beyond
free flow,
it
looks good.
Just, meh. I mean, a lot of complaints about the M9 are is it's just...
Some people say it's quite boring.
Yeah. Not very visually interesting.
I called it the M40 of Scotland last time.
That's a very
good the M40. If you ever driven the M40 between Birmingham,
it's boring,
and it's just embankments either side. You can't see anything. But I like the M9 because it's quiet. I mean, we'll get into the sort of analysis of it a little bit at the end of the podcast, but it's fair. I never get stuck on it, so
no.
The junctions along here. So we have Philpston, which is Junction 2, and we have Boroughmuir. They're diamond junctions. They're not full access. They're just half diamond. Because the idea is you've got... They're reasonably close together. You know, so you can... If you're wanting to get into the A904 and head to the bridge, you come off at Philpston. Or if, you know, you want to go up to Bowness or whatever, you go
Philpston's that one that people use in the sort of south or eastbound direction to rat run to Queensferry
to rat run
Cross.
To the bridge.
Yeah.
But they had to. Before Kirkliston was upgraded, there was
no option.
There was no option. So when, in 2013, they added a slip down at Junction 1A, so you didn't need to do that anymore. You know, people still do that.
Yeah.
There's also this. This is what Duncan's, I think, is referencing, the lovely split carriageways at next to Linlithgow Loch. So there's a slight difference in level.
Yeah, that's the main photo on the M9 page on the website is taken right there. Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll get into a bit more detail on that. And it also has, of course, the connection to the A801, which is quite a major road. So we'll talk about that. Fairhurst guys, again, thank you for this. They've got some notes that they've said. So the carriageway separation. This is the bit up at Linlithgow. Just so this is before Junction 4.
Yeah.
Carriageway separation came about from pressure put on the Scottish Development Department from Historic Scotland about fears from them spoiling views over the loch from Linlithgow Palace. They had to submit plans before the Royal Fine Arts Society of Scotland to get approval for the scheme and prove to them that the road surface would not be visible from the palace.
An early example of, I guess, the impact of a new road having to be considered against its existing surroundings.
Yeah,
which is fair enough.
Exactly. Yeah. So they didn't just build these things willy-nilly, they did care. The split carriageways were suggested by the landscape consultant, which was Messrs. Gillespie, as a way of keeping the road profile as low as possible without a deep cutting into the natural ground slope, so basically digging and hiding it.
Yeah.
Major challenge came the last minute change of route from Muriel to Lethallen section because of a major subsidence of land either side of the Creighton Road just after the Mire section. So speaking about that Mire embankment again, this involved remapping of the new alignment, reconstruction of the just completed Mire embankment, and repositioning of some bridges on the new route. This was carried out at great speed as a contract for this.
Must have been if they were having to do it after elements of the road had been built.
Yes.
Yeah.
They they crunched it, to use a modern term. Carried at great speed, as the contract for this part was also about to go to tender as well. So not quite at construction stage, but certainly all the design work was done.
Yeah.
You know. So there we go. Some booklet notes that we'll take from here. It says obviously that the motorway blending into the countryside and be pleasing to use. The landscape consultants were appointed to advise advise Fairhurst on this.
Your notes here. I can't say I've heard of Messrs. William Gillespie and Associates.
We always think of Halfords for Glasgow, don't
so
we?
they were probably an equivalent firm from through there, no doubt well known. But yeah, it's a new one to me, I must say.
So, well, they say in some areas, side slopes of embankments and cuttings have been made much flatter than engineering requirements would dictate, so that land occupied by them could be returned to agricultural use. Typical examples are shown at Duntarvie and Springfield Farms. So, back to the Lithgow Loch situation. The motorway passes through an area that they wanted to make it seem kind of as unobtrusive as possible, while taking advantage of the view from it. Extensive moulding of the earthworks, separated carriageways at different levels, the use of earth bunds to mask the roads and to reduce noise transmission, and the planting groups carefully chosen to match the indigenous pattern has all been adopted to create a high standard of amenity.
The sort of things we take for granted today with roads construction, to be fair.
Yes, we do. There's a lot of thought that went into this, even back in the 70s. The variation in physical features between bridge sites prevents the use of standardised designs. We're all about standardised designs now in the DMRB, but where possible, details have been repeated to give a sense of continuity from structure to structure. There is also a gradual development in the supporting piers of overbridges from a massive single cantilever of Holyards Bridge near Newbridge, so that was the one that's no longer there, to the slimmer piers of the four-span overbridges such as the Lochhouse Bridge.
Sorry, I was just going to.
No, I know you're a bridges guy, so you're going to.
With a wee fact there, but have you ever noticed that the parapet railings on those overbridges, the top rail is painted blue? So 3 rails white, or 2 rails white, and 1 rail blue.
I haven't. Are they still like that?
Still there.
Why do they do it? Is that
Don't
just
know.
an aesthetic thing?
Don't know. It's just possibly an aesthetic thing. It won't be an original feature, I wouldn't think, because the paint system's too good for that. It's probably been maybe 15, 20, maybe a bit longer ago than that. So, yeah, next time you're driving along there, look for the blue rail on the parapet railings above you.
Okay. I didn't know that. There you go. If somebody's driving along it, that's a great thing to know. So they were doing this because what it says here is there's a continuity they wanted to have with multiple piers because they already have multiple piers on the section that was already open north of here, so they wanted it to feel similar. So
it sort of blends in, sort of tapered piers, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, these sorts of things. So, no. Okay, so that sort of brings us to the end of that section from Murie Hall to Lethallen. So that was sort of like the junction, I don't know, 1B as it would be now to junction 4. So this is interesting. This section was already open by the time the sections we've just been talking about just there. So this is known as the Polmont and Falkirk Bypass.
The original old section.
This is the original section. Well, say old, it's only 2 years prior. It opened on the 29th of August 1968 by Lord Hughes. Oh,
Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Scotland or something like that at the time, I think.
Yeah, his name crops up. He's done it again. Who knows it? It was designed in-house by Stirling County Council. So it wasn't a Fairhurst section. And it was built by Duncan Logan.
Good old Scottish contractor Duncan Logan Limited built Kingston Bridge in joint venture with Ridgeway, and sadly went out of business just before the bridge opened, just a couple of years later. I think Logan was killed in a plane crash. He used to fly planes, and I believe, he died in a plane crash. They were involved in the Tay Road Bridge construction, and I think it happened around about that time. It's all online, that information, but and I think the company struggled once he was gone, sadly, and eventually did go out of business. Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, Logan Air. He founded Logan Air.
Did he?
Yeah. Logan Air was his.
You know something? You have you ever considered doing a roads podcast? You know,
shouldn't have all this this useless information that's bottled up in my mind.
No, it's very interesting. It is good. Now, its character. Duncan says very urban. I don't think it's
very urban.
I don't say it's very urban, but it's more urban than the other sections because you're starting to pass close to those major population centres.
Very urban is Charing Cross on the M8.
Yes,
not the M9 passing Falkirk.
Slight hyperbole by our absent friend. It does have some limited junction access with the A905, sort of running alongside it as a distributor road.
Yeah.
The north end of the bypass did end at a roundabout on the old 876, which is now the A88.
Oh, was that like
Bellsdyke
roundabout?
Yes.
Skinflats Road and all that sort of area. Very flat around there.
Yes, it passed up to here. So, but like I said, this was the first bit of the M9 to actually open.
Mm-hmm.
So, Junction 4, Lathallan, they built that completely, but there was nothing under it, so the road just ran out.
Right.
So if you were heading south on the M9,
mm-hmm.
you were kicked off at that junction.
Right,
and
back onto the old road.
Onto the A9, basically. And, from there it would go all the way north past like Grangemouth, Falkirk, Polmont, and it would stop at that roundabout.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a bypass for these towns at the time.
Yeah.
That's sort of the way it was. Now, this section is always known by people because of the Kelpies.
It's probably the most interesting feature on that bit of the road now, let's be honest.
Yeah, I think so, the Kelpies. Do you know when it was built, the Kelpies?
No, when was that now?
2013.
Wow.
There you go. Same designer as Aria on the M80, it's Andy Scott. Oh,
yeah, he did the horse on the M8, Junction 9, and a couple other things as well.
There's Duncan says here the designer is the same one as the one on the M80. Aria,
that's the big one just north of Auchenkilns,
So
it's a nice one as well.
That's fine. So the route of the bypass, this is from the booklet, by the way, which is from the archive. I've got some things to talk about with that.
Which you'll get online if you want to follow along.
Yeah, and it's a lovely old school booklet, very old.
Yeah.
It seems even old for its time.
It does. I mean, we've got Glasgow booklets from 1968 that feel positively modern in comparison to this one. Yeah,
but no, it is good. There's some great pictures in it as well. So the booklet says the route of the bypass lies along the Carse of the Forth for 4/5 of its length.
There's a lot of fourths there.
A lot of fourths. Like I said, I am quoting this verbatim from the book. The soil survey carried out in 1963 showed that the subgrade conditions, so that's the existing soil deep down, were amongst the worst experienced in Scottish roadworks and unable to support normal embankments, which have to be 27 feet high in order to pass over the railway at Foldubs and the Earlsgate Roundel. These high spots coincide with a depth of 120 feet of soft brown plastic clay. The weight of the embankments were reduced by using lightweight pulverised fuel ash from Kincardine and other power stations.
So, I can hear some more, engineers today going, don't use that in road construction. Oh,
but this was the 60s, sure, anything went. The supply of this material is limited, giving the maximum time possible for settlement to take place. So Stirling County Council Roads Department commenced the construction of the embankments by direct labour in January 1965.
Wow. Direct labour organisations when the councils used to be able to build things themselves.
Yes.
Good old days.
Well, you said to me, Stuart, the world is not a museum.
It isn't.
It is. It changes. It moves on. Built by direct labour in January 1965. These were these embankments and placed 160,000 tonnes up to the time works were taken over by the contractor in February 1966.
That's a lot of material.
It did get some settlement. The maximum settlement recorded was 24 inches. So it's very good they do this in advance, because then you get big problems.
So that, 3/4 of a metre. 750 millimetres, something like that. It's still a lot of settlement. Yeah,
they didn't have much. Everything back you read at a certain time, anything in the 60s is not metric. So it was quite
pre-71 is imperial. Yeah.
The bridge over the River Carron, Bridge 4, as it's referred to, is a separate contract prepared by W.A. Fairhurst and Partners and built by Watlings. I didn't know that.
Me neither.
So we said this was designed by the council, so obviously this is quite that bridge. It's quite a large structure, the one of the council. They obviously got Fairhurst in their specialist knowledge, and that was built by Watlings.
Do we need to update the website to reflect that? I don't know.
I'm sure you have that all in hand.
Possibly.
We probably already knew it. We just forgot.
Yeah, forgotten about it.
With those ones.
I mean, I know Fairhurst designed some of the other bridges randomly for councils and things, where the councils would do the road works and they would come in and do the bridges. So it's not unusual. I just don't recall that Carron Bridge being an advanced contract. So there you go. Interesting.
I have another cool thing to talk about from the archive, because from the archive book is this section we're talking about.
Yeah.
But we're just going to quickly turn off the M9 for a second.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about the A801.
The 880. Oh, yeah.
So this road, for people listening, is the cut-through road that goes and links the M8 and M9 motorways together. So it goes all the way from Junction 4, Lethallen of the M9, and it meets M8 at Junction 4 at Whitburn. And this road is really quite high standard. It's a single carriageway with some dual carriageway sections, apart from the middle section that goes over the Avon Gorge, which is a whole other topic. But they write about this in this booklet, and it's quite a mysterious road because we don't have much information on it. If you know more about the 801, please get in touch. But they call it here in the booklet the Lethallen-Livingston Road. So there was obviously, they identified the importance of getting people south from here, especially from places like Grangemouth, major terminal, creating a high-quality connection to go all the way down there. So it says here, the next task in this vicinity is the construction of the first stage of the north-south link between the M9 and A9 roads at Lethallen and the M8 and A8 roads near Whitburn. This first stage is to be constructed as a single 24-foot carriageway that runs from Lethallen Interchange to Bowhouse Crossroads, that's Bowhouse Roundabout, as it would be now, on the 801 road, a distance of approximately 2 miles. The road is being designed so that an additional carriageway can be added in the future to cope with the expected traffic build-up from the Livingston-Bathgate development area and the Falkirk-Grangemouth growth area. Economically, the construction of a dual carriageway would be justified on the basis of natural growth of traffic by the year 1972. Now, anyone that uses this road knows that it is not a dual carriageway between Bowhouse and Lethallen, so that never happened. And the A801 is quite a big topic to discuss in its own right, but I'm just going to say from here, we're just talking about this section. This was talked about and considered. It wasn't built at around about exactly the same time, but it was pretty close to it. So that's the oldest section up there.
Right, okay.
But always the aim was to create a high quality.
It's a missed opportunity, that road, because it really helps you cut the corner. Now, I've used it lots over the years.
We had the drone out.
Dual carriageway would be fantastic between those two junctions.
Absolutely.
It would take some of the pressure off Newbridge and some of these areas as well.
I do wonder what the future...
I mean, I know the Avon Gorge proposal, maybe we could we'll cover this in your news updates when we do one of those episodes soon on the Avon Gorge Bridge proposals.
Do you know what the problem... It's not trunk. And I think sometimes councils have to pay for this. Unless you get, levelling up funding or region... or whatever they call these things, you're not going to be able to do these things. So, but anyway, that's where they first spoke about it. It was in that booklet. So there we go. Shall we get back in the car and head north?
Yes,
Stuart.
Go on.
So the next section is from that roundabout that I spoke about. This is Long Dyke to Pern Hall. So Pern Hall is Long Dyke. That's where the road ended, basically on a roundabout, which is the current present day A88. And Pern Hall is Bannockburn Interchange.
Of course, that was its original formal name.
Yes, Pern Hall is as it was known. So this opened quite a bit later on, the 15th of February 1980.
One of those schemes that was affected by the economic situation in the 70s, a bit like Monkland Motorway Stage 2B in the final section of the M90. Yeah,
exactly. Opened in 1980. It was designed again in-house by the council. The contractor, so he had the sort of Kinnaird section, M9, Hill of Kinnaird and Bannockburn, which were built by Balfour Beatty, so very familiar, and contractor that's still going. And the M876 was also built in stages between this contract between North Broomage and Bowtrees. That was built by Tarmac.
Of course, that was the final section of the M876, wasn't it? And that was only ever motorway, whereas the first section of the M876, the western end, that was the Denny bypass.
That's right.
Or the it's not a Denny bypass, it's the something diversion, the Larbert diversion or something.
It has a name like that. That was originally all purpose.
That was all purpose and upgraded to motorway.
And upgraded to that's why you don't see some
we'll need to do an
M876
podcast. We'll add that
to the list. That'll be a short one.
M876 and 801. There you go.
There you go. You can put two of them together. But it's kind of like they built a little bit of the section that's goes basically up to what was Bowtrees Roundabout. Bowtrees Roundabout now has been grade separated.
Of course, as part of the Clackmannanshire
Bridge works. So that's it. The section here, because the M876 sort of merges with the M9 and then splits off again, that's known as a multiplex. in
in
certain road circle terms, where you have a road which essentially has two numbers at the same time. It sort of disappears into a road and comes out.
Is this a formally recognised term?
I think Sabre has formally recognised
but would
it.
like the Department for Transport or anyone else
I
use
think
that?
these people read Sabre.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, multiplex is like
cinema. Go in the cinema.
Yeah. To me.
There you go. That's it. You can impress everyone with your new bit of road vocabulary there, I guess. So the dual 3-lane section. It's noted here that it's the most northerly dual 3-lane in the UK.
That'll be right. That will
Challenge
be right.
us on that, folks. If you can find a dual 3-lane section north of the M876 M9 merge, and you let us know. Climbing lanes don't count.
They don't count, of course,
because they're only on one side.
Yeah.
The Earthbund was built at Plean to keep the noise and visual intrusion.
There's a name I've not heard for a while. Plean.
Yeah. It's an area around there. And also, this is a thing as well. The M9 gets very quiet up here. Between 8 and 9, quietest section of motorway in Scotland. I don't know.
If you went back a decade or so, then probably I think the section between the M876 and the M80 merge probably
most folk are going
the
down the M80 way.
I mean, Bishopton Stage 2 is
very quiet.
Is equally quiet.
The M90 can be blooming quiet.
Yeah, it'd be
sections.
worth getting the traffic figures out. That's something. We'll get Duncan to do that. He's never busy. We'll get him to look them up and see what the most recent flows are for those sections.
We're here taking credit here for all his hard work.
I know.
Put all this together.
That's
all we've got on that section. So I'm going to move.
Fairly nondescript section.
It's fairly nondescript. It's fairly quiet. I think
the railway overbridge is probably the biggest structure on that. The sign gantries there are 4 sign gantries that span both carriageways. I got the sign plates on that replaced a few years ago. They really annoyed me for years because they were in terrible condition. And we got some new sign plates put up, and my new downward facing arrows put on as well, nice and reflective. The gantries were originally lit, but there's not a requirement now for illumination of gantries in unlit areas.
So they were uplit gantries,
yes,
weren't
they
they?
were.
Uplighters on
Yes, they were.
I remember that.
So there you go.
Next thing is a Stirling bypass. So in 2 parts, this one. So this is heading north. So junction, let's put it this way around here. So it's kind of junction 11 to 10 opened on the 6th of April 1971. It was built by Murdoch Mackenzie and designed in-house by Stirling County Council. The construction of Kia Roundabout and a small amount of dualling into Dunblane. So that was also done at the same time.
The old A9 going off into Dunblane town centre that was later bypassed.
He
spoke about that in that podcast a couple of episodes ago, didn't he?
Yeah, he did in those sections. The River Forth Bridge, they brought Fairhurst in for that. They were bussed in for this bridge as well. So Fairhurst and Partners works by Lilly.
Oh, of Glasgow.
Well, it's FJ Lilly Marine.
Yeah, same one. It's a different branch of the same firm that later went out of business while building the M74 Maryville to Fullerton Road section in 1993. Yeah, and built the Springburn Expressway.
And we still found their sign
Street
there.
and all that. That's right.
I remember that.
Yeah, no, they were well known. Also did a lot of work at Townhead Interchange back in the expansion days there as well, late 70s, early 80s. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Trial embankments. We've come across trial embankments, Stuart. They constructed due to poor ground conditions to a height of 35 feet. Took 9 months.
And did they then use them, or were they just built as a trial, or does it say?
It doesn't say. I'm wondering if they, with other sections, the experience they had in the Grangemouth, Polmont, Falkirk section, they were like, we should try these and see how it goes.
Okay.
This say here as well, during construction, a 150-year-old house was taken down and rebuilt stone by stone, 3/4 of a mile away because it stood in the path of the motorway. It is nice they've done that. The house was part of a pillared entrance to the Keir estates owned by Colonel William Stirling, a former wartime commando leader. The house was built in 1820 by David Hamilton and is considered an ancient monument. So that's a good bit of knowledge. So the house was in the way. They didn't just bulldoze it. Yeah. They took it apart.
I know there were sections of the Stirling bypass that had been planned from the 1920s, 1930s. Not as motorway necessarily at that stage, but I know there had been a lot of discussion about where the bypass should go, and there was concerns over the battlefield and things that could get dug up. Quite and sensitive. All these sorts of things. Yeah.
No, that's it.
And of course, that's a good point. Stage 1, I'm just appreciating this here, phase 1 is actually the northern section of the bypass. So it's from 10 all the way up to Keir. I was thinking we were still down at Bannockburn, but no, we've jumped on a bit.
We've kind of jumped on a little bit here, and I can see how it's been set out like this, because the next section, part 2, says junction 9 to 10 opened on the 28th of December 1973. Officially opening on... So it did open, but there's an official opening of a different date a year later, or in the spring of the next year, on the 22nd of May 1974, along with the M80 between Pernhall and Hags.
These Stirlingshire Links motorways.
Because if you look at a map, it's all like triangles.
That's right.
There, in those areas. And that was, of course, this section was also done in-house by
So they've waited until that section was completed and then just had a single ceremony for the whole thing. Yeah,
that's it.
Okay.
Craigforth Junction, that's junction
10 at the old insurance complex. Yep.
Yeah, Craigforth to Torbex and hard shoulders on the M876 to Larber and Faircloth.
Leonard Faircloth Limited. Yeah.
Yes, these put in. What I'm just trying to discern from these notes though, and hard shoulders. So was that the same? They added the hard shoulders as part of the contract.
So as part of the M80 stage 2. So M80 from Ingliston to Bannockburn, right? Yeah. That was a northern extension of the Denny bypass, which had been built to all-purpose standards, right? Okay. So they built the new motorway, but at the same time they added hard shoulders to the M80 between Hags and Ingliston, and also in the existing A876 from Denny to North Broomhouse.
We were talking about those
and they added the hard
sections,
shoulders there. Yeah.
And then they put them in.
Yeah. So they added all this. So they converted all of that to motorway.
And you'll notice that the bridges on these sections, there are no hard shoulders.
That's right.
Because
it was all purpose, exactly. Yeah.
You know the Chartershall Bridge?
Chartershall, the one that had to be replaced.
Yes, replaced in 2012 after, because it got struck so many times, replaced by coffee. I don't know if is that. I do know the one they're talking about. Yeah, I've seen that.
It stands out like a sore thumb because it's a weathering steel bridge now that's in a single span over the motorway, and it's far higher and far more modern. One of the problems with the M9 that the heights of the bridges are bare minimum. Some of the VMSs still say check your height. M9 bridges 4.95 metres.
Is it referring to that bridge when it says that?
Well, it would. Chartershall was one of the lowest ones at the time. Clearly not anymore, but some of the other bridges in that section are just barely on the limit.
So if you're driving an HGV, he's that.
Yes,
exactly.
Indeed.
It's quite a nice section. I like this when you're going up here, the views of Stirling Castle, Wallace Monument.
Trossachs up to the far left. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and then it sort of comes to an end, of course, at Keir Roundabout.
Yeah.
And then it becomes the A9 and continues on. Of course, check out the A9 podcast if you want to continue the journey north and find out a little bit more about that section. Duncan and I, it's just worth mentioning, this is actually take 2 of this podcast. We after having some issues with trying to do it online.
Technical difficulties.
I hope we've been able to maintain the chemistry we have.
Just the rehearsal, John.
Just the rehearsal. But prior to this, Duncan and I did have a road trip along it. We drove along the whole section just to get a feel, get a vibe for what it was like. It was terrible weather. Also got to see the Stirling underpass finally, so you can stop banging on at me about that.
Oh, the cut and cover at Stirling railway station.
He did. Yeah. And it's quite good because, I'm going to put these notes together. We've both been looking at some of the old photographs and stuff as well. I do have a new appreciation for it. Yes, it is a bit nondescript in some areas, but particularly those northern sections, they look great. And you know something I like about this road, Stuart? It functions well. It does its blooming job well. Yeah. And I know it can get queued at Newbridge and stuff like that, but that's not the end.
Other than that, it's fine.
That's not the M9's fault.
Very predictable motorway, which is good.
Yes, it is. You never hear about it unless there's an incident or something like that.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about Keir Roundabout since we got up there. Why's that not got a flyover?
I don't know. What was the original thinking there? I mean, I guess traffic flow at the time probably don't justify the need for it, but nowadays, southbound, Friday afternoon peak in the summer...
It's getting bad.
It's bad.
It's bad.
Yeah.
And they need to look at something there, and I don't know if they're going to have to look at potentially traffic lights, but I'm going to be honest, wherever traffic lights seem to have been added to roundabouts lately, it hasn't helped.
Swallow roundabout by any chance, Dundee?
Yeah, but that was some third-party development that went in there. But the other problem I think now is, sometimes we're not always putting traffic lights in to help traffic flow. We are doing it as part of more inclusive design to help people cross the road and stuff like that. But there are not really people who cross the road much at Kia Roundabout.
No, these are more strategic links, these types of roads. They are in a rural environment. Yeah.
I think that's one we're going to need to look at.
One to watch for the future.
I
think we discussed that on the A9 podcast, actually, didn't we?
No, we did.
What we felt was justified there. Yeah, right. Very good.
Well, you know what? It's been a while. So I think we should get the questions looked at, Stuart.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to read the questions.
I'm putting you on notice. Yeah, you read them out, and we'll both attempt to try and answer them. Just read them all out, even if they're.
We'll see what we've got. It's been a while since we had listener questions.
If we can't answer them for whatever conflict reasons, we will say. But
and they all came from Facebook as well, didn't they? So
yes,
which is helpful. It keeps it all in a single place. Before I read your question, I just need to read this comment from a chap called Ryan Morrison, who left a comment on Facebook.
Okay.
Right? And he said, bloody love these podcasts. I go to a music festival in England every year, and this podcast is on the whole way. Who said roads and death metal can't be fun? Keep it up, guys. You know what, Ryan? Thank you very much. There are times when John and I go, this bloody podcast. But, you've said these bloody podcasts in a good way, and it actually gives us some motivation. It's good to hear that people enjoy it.
If it brings you joy, then it is worth it.
So we are actually entertaining people, it seems.
Yeah,
that's good.
Exactly.
But any questions?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, right. Okay. I'm going to pick these at random. Okay, and you'll have to bear with me because some of them are quite long, so I'm just going to make sure there's nothing controversial in them before I read them.
No swearing.
Indeed. No. I don't want to put anyone on the spot. Right, so Alan Rennie, also Facebook, as I say, they're only on Facebook. So the M9 alignment sits on areas of soft alluvial soil near the Forth, which also encompasses the Forth Valley floodplain. Did this influence the choice of route or the type of foundations used, and were there any particular stretches that proved especially difficult to build on?
Yeah.
You've kind of answered that already.
No, it didn't. Yeah. I don't think, to answer that question, it didn't affect the choice of route, but it was more the materials. You heard about us talking about the large embankment. Meyer embankment was one, but also for where he's talking about specifically, they did put these embankments, and you could hear about the settlement. Was it something like, 2 feet?
2 feet, I think it was.
2 feet of settlement in some areas, and then they had the trial embankments further north in the Stirling bypass.
Yeah, he had a second sort of part to the question. Did he have any major engineering challenges to overcome stabilising the embankments and drainage management? Well, yeah, we've had trial embankments. Yeah. We've had those ones you were talking about. So you kind of answered that.
Yes, there was considerable challenges with that, to be honest.
For that one, Alan. We have another one here, which I think is more of a sort of a general statement.
Is it a personal question? God, I love personal
questions. No. Here's one from Luke Bunch.
Okay.
Why do you have to turn off to stay in the M9 at junction 9?
Well, that... Do you know... So, right, okay. So, you're heading south, and if you want to stay in the M9,
I know the answer to this.
Right.
I know the answer to this.
Can I try and answer?
You try and answer it first.
And then you... Yeah. It's because more traffic's going to the
Exactly. Right. It was the M80 was always going to be the busier of the two. Yeah. So it made sense for traffic to continue ahead on the busier of the two routes, and then the M9 traffic then just filters off to the left and heads towards Edinburgh.
So how would you... what was the name of the person who asked the question?
Luke.
So how could we make Luke's life easier here? Why not just rename it the M80 going up to Kia Roundabout then, and then he would...
that's a point. I mean...
And then you would be turning off to go on the M9.
And it would still be within zone as well, because you've got your 84, 85
then
to the
some
left,
pedant would be like, well, it's M9 becoming A9. That makes sense. If it's going like M9, then M80,
and then the
A9
A9 continues as the route north from there, so you can understand. So but it's all to do with the traffic flow. The M80 was always...
So if you're heading to England, for example, you're going to get your M80... so if you're long distance driving, that's a
and like we said, that section between Purnhall and Bannockburn is the quietest section. Well, at one point we knew was the quietest section.
Heading down towards the M876.
James Stuart Ash asks, why doesn't it have a crane lane? Which I take it is the same as a crawler lane. Are there any sections that need crawler lanes? I don't know. Is there any particularly long gradients that are slow moving?
I think every motorway now needs a crane lane, because if it's these blooming cranes, you get stuck. But they can only do 40 on the motorway, and that pushes everything out, which is a pain. And we suffer badly in Scotland with that, because a lot of our rural dual two lanes.
Probably traffic flow at the time. Again, just didn't justify the need for it.
I don't think there's any really quite steep sections. To be honest, it's quite flat for its most part. So no crane lane needed.
No. Jonathan Towers, who's a regular question asker,
Hello, Jonathan.
when the opportunity arises, has asked, was there ever a plan for a Newton bypass to join the A90 at the Forth Road Bridge and M9 Junction 2? It's much quicker than using the A90 northbound from Edinburgh than the M9 spur. That's his first question.
Right, let's answer that then. So Newton is that town that you...
Is that the wee village /
town? Wee village.
Yeah, on the main road north, the road between Bowness and South Queensferry. Is that?
That's the one.
It is, isn't it? Aye. I don't know. Probably not. The M9 was probably seen as being the Newton bypass at that point.
Yeah, but the point is, I think, that there was no slip road at Kirkliston to get up on going to the bridge.
But they would probably envisage people just heading north to Kincardine and over the Kincardine Bridge up the E977.
But what about everyone between Kincardine and down there? See, this is an example of, in the east of the country, the lack of joined up planning is so stupid sometimes.
Oh, compared to the west, definitely.
Compared to the west, and you end up with these silly situations with that A8000. No Barnton bypass, no link to the Edinburgh City bypass. The whole thing's about... Do you know what? I think that, no, they probably didn't.
Probably not.
I've never heard of a Newton bypass, to be honest with you.
He has a second question. Why are the junctions around Falkirk so mad? Bean Cross, Junction 5, is relatively sensible, apart from the eastbound off-slip being pretty far away. But why no exit at Junction 6? Thanks as always, he says. Bean Cross, Junction 5, that's Cadger's Bray as well, isn't it?
Earl's Grey or Cadger's Bray.
Cadger's Bray. That's
Cadger's Bray, not... It's Cadger's Bray is what it's called.
Fair enough.
Yeah, right. Okay, so the junctions here, I believe I'm gonna have to get Google Maps to have a little look just to remember what it is.
Yeah, 5 and 6 are these awkward ones where you've got staggered off slips and things, haven't you?
They do different things, but they have the A905 running between them as a sort of distributor between them in these areas. Because it is in a semi-urban area like Earlsgate, which is Junction 6, Cadger's Bray is 5. Because you're in an urban area, you don't have that much space, so they come up with these sort of bespoke type designs. That's quite common you see in these areas. They're very close together. They don't need to be full access. That's right. So there is a little slip road that is between Junction 6 and Junction 5 for coming off there.
Yeah.
But it's because it's in a slightly urban area, I think, Jonathan. That's why they've had to do that. Come up with something that's not quite off the shelf to sort of fit in with the roads there. I think it works from any time that I've used it.
I mean, they've recently added traffic lights around Junction 5, haven't they? Underneath, they were signalised recently. That seems to be working better. They've widened it as well. 6 is the same.
There's a lot of work going on around there where they're dualling the A904 and parts of the A9 in Falkirk. So
we'll finish with not so much a question, so much as a comment from Neil McD. Coming north, the signs for joining the M876 are very confusing. I bet dozens of people end up down towards the Kincardine Bridge every day when they wanted to head towards Glasgow. Isn't obvious enough that there are 2 M876 exits in quick succession.
Yes.
They should also cut down the trees that limits early views of the Kelpies. Other than that, terrific. Fast, relatively traffic-free for most of its length, especially compared to the M80. That's a pretty good sum up.
That sounds like he's done a almost like a Google review on something he's visited. No, I know what you mean, because you come up for M876 and you think, well, that's the road I'm wanting, but the first one you end up that Trumpet Junction where you'd be sent round on the loop basically to go, but no, there are 2. Yeah. There are other junctions in the UK that do this a lot better.
Oh yes.
When you come along this thing, it's like I'm going to say it sounds a shame, but you got to know it, to be honest with you. Yeah. Your sat-nav will keep you right, I suppose, with these things.
I mean, most people are sort of...
Read the overhead, what it says. Of course, you're looking for the signs for Glasgow. There is a distinction between Junction 7 and Junction 8. Yeah. Junction 8 is the
7 is that Hill of Kinnaird? Or Kinnaird House? Or something, and then you've got...
7 is Kinnaird House. 8 is Hill of Kinnaird.
Right, so very similarly named.
Yes, and that's
doesn't
the
help
3-lane section in there.
Yeah, use Google. Use your sat-nav.
I do see the point of that. But,
Apple CarPlay or whatever you use these days to connect to things.
Waze is an app. Lots of people
that's the other
use
one.
now. There's Apple Maps. But all of them are inferior to Google, I think.
I think so. Yeah, I would say so. They're far and above the best. Well, wonderful podcast.
I loved that.
John.
It was great. It's good to be back here in the studio
Just,
again.
I can actually speak to you rather than see you on a screen.
I know.
Great.
Look you straight in the eye.
Yep.
Do you know what, though? Have you missed Duncan? I have missed him a little bit.
Yeah. It's always good for him to chip in with his wee facts and figures and things.
Yeah,
He'll be back.
His
soon.
enthusiasm.
He'll be back. I'll be recording our Sky Bridge anniversary podcast with him soon for the 30th anniversary of that.
That'll be really good. You're going mobile studio for that one.
Yes, having to go mobile studio for that. I'm having to travel to Inverness.
I'm not going to be there, so have fun, guys.
Of all things, and then
I'm going to submit a question.
Yeah, you should. And then you and I are going to be having a podcast just before Christmas on the A8.
Yes,
I'm leading on that one, so that's from Edinburgh all the way through to Greenock, Port Glasgow.
One we haven't properly discussed.
Yeah. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about the sort of history of that, the current sections, previous sections, all that sort of thing, past sections. So that's all coming. And of course, we'll have the Christmas special one coming up at the end of the year as well, and something special lined up for that. Sponsors.
Yes.
Thank you as usual and always to the team Andy and the team at Eastford Excavations.
Thank you very much. And also to Nigel and the team at Highway Barrier Solutions for helping us bring these podcasts
appreciated
to you. And all
their support, of course. In terms of events, John and Duncan will be at the Forth Road Bridge Doors Open Days next Saturday. I say next Saturday. For those who are listening just as this comes out. What's the date next Saturday? Is that the 26th? 27th of September?
I think it's the 26th, it should be.
Let me just check my calendar. I should have done that in advance. Saturday, the 27th of September. 27th. The guys will be in the Contact and Education Centre. That's the one next to the main administration building at the Forth Road Bridge at South Queensferry. That's open all day. Bear Scotland are running tours and things at the bridge as well, so if you can come out, definitely worth a visit. Go upstairs in the CEC, visit the guys. We'll have booklets on sale, all sorts of things. As usual, booklets to show off. Ask them questions. That's what they're there for.
Even sign one of your booklets for a small fee.
Wow.
Yeah,
autographed.
Autograph.
And then on the 11th and 12th of October, we have the Glasgow Vintage Vehicle Trust open weekend. So John and I and a couple of other guys will be at Bridgeton for the weekend, 2 days there. We do actually have 1 or 2 new items to release
finally
for that. Yep,
yes,
some new booklets. So you heard that here first. And they won't be available online until after the Bridgeton event. So that's the sort of purpose. And we'll have the usual exhibits and things down there. So please come and say hello. It's always nice when people come up and talk to us and say, I listened to the podcast, I've heard you and whatnot. So it'd be good to.
And not actually too many months away now, Stuart, from calendar time.
Calendar's coming. We're already well into the production of calendar now. Calendar's coming. Let me just sum up in booklets, actually. I should just do that because Duncan will nag me if I don't. So our first ever booklet was the Kingston Bridge 50th anniversary. That was 5 years ago. Since then, we have gained a considerable amount of material on the bridge and the history of the bridge, photographs, drawings, and the like. We are releasing a second edition, an expanded edition of that booklet. That's coming imminently. We have a reprint of the Keswick Bridge booklet. Now, for those who've purchased the Keswick Bridge booklet, you will know that the paper is of a different type to the rest of the booklets. Now, the reason for that was it was produced during COVID, and our usual printer was having supply issues at that time, and we could only get the usual paper at a huge cost, and we said no. So we have reprinted that now in the same paper. So if you're like me and you have OCD and you're compulsive and obsessive with these things, and you'd like your Keswick to match the others, I suggest snapping one of them up, because we're doing a limited print run of those, and that'll just mean that they're all the same standard. There's a booklet coming for the 30th anniversary of the Sky Bridge. Duncan's A9 production is currently going through its sort of final stages of production.
That's going to be a tome.
Well, his publication, and then calendar.
Yes.
And that'll see us through the end of the year. So we would prefer to spread these out a bit over the year, but it's just not worked out like that this time. So busy. So think of all those Christmas gifts. Well, there's opportunities coming up for that.
If you've got any suggestions on what sort of things we could produce next, it could be some other types of merchandise or things you see, get in touch and let us know.
Definitely.
What do you think people would like?
Yeah.
We're always open to that to keep the lights on here.
Good. And we will see you very soon. And thank you, John, for all the hard work you've done on that.
I thank Duncan and the guys at Fairhurst for this. I'm just a talent, but no, it's been great sitting here having a discussion on the M9 again.
I think we'll be back here again very soon.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.